So today I want to talk to you about dealing with setbacks. It's a question I get asked a lot, and I think it's important to address it. When you're recovering from OCD, I can guarantee you that you will have setbacks. I've never seen people have perfect OCD progression to recovery. It's always the person does good for a few days, then, there's a fallback. Then they start to do good again, then there's a fallback. But what's important here is that when you are having a fallback, you're not falling all the way back and undoing the progress, but you're just falling back a little bit. So if you had, say, a few days of success, and then you start, or let's not even go that far, but saying a few hours of success, and then a thought got you and you started to react, it doesn't undo the times that you didn't pay attention to the thought. The brain kind of records all of it, and you have to have the majority of the time disregarding the thoughts, right? And then that, just like I say, that 80-20 percentage, right? That 80% of the time you're disregarding thoughts, 20% of the time you're falling back. Expect it to be a natural progression in recovery, And usually I see people start out, when they first start out, they're doing, like when people come to me, they're usually doing 90% reassurance, 10% maybe refusing. And that's not even always the case. They could be doing 100% reassurance. But as they start to practice, then it becomes, 50, gets up to the 50-50 point, that sometimes they're doing reassurance, sometimes they're refusing. And then it progresses to better, and then gets to the point where it's 80-20. And that's when you start to really see the recovery take place, So if you're not successful, the moment you start to do the recovery work, the moment you realize how to beat OCD and how to recover, it doesn't mean that you will not recover. It's like a pattern. Your brain has to learn the pattern. You have to learn how it feels in terms of how you already know how it feels to have OCD, but you don't know how it feels when you are in the process of recovery. So yes, you are doing the right thing. The anxiety is still there. It's not going away because you've done so many times the wrong thing that the brain kind of learned to handle the stuff with anxiety, right? So just because you're getting anxiety doesn't mean that you're not in the process of recovery. So yes, I'm doing the right thing. No, I'm not feeling better yet, but maybe tomorrow I'll feel a little bit better, right? And seeing those patterns as you are starting to improve, And if you're having a setback, viewing it as an isolated incident. So don't allow yourself to fall into depression and say, well, now it's all over, I'm never going to recover, because this is the case with everybody who has OCD, is there is going to be setbacks. And, a lot of the times the setbacks have to do with your real life as well, where if you're very stressed in your real life, it will impact your ability to fight OCD. And, the next day you might get OCD thoughts that are stronger, and you're not able to cope as well or disregard as well, right? So it's kind of seeing more so the pattern of, okay, today I did worse in OCD. Why is that? Right? Or even starting with, I feel worse today. Why is it? Well, because I did worse, because I did reassurance. Well, why did I do reassurance? I know that I did checking and asking and whatever, but why really did I do that? What happened the day before? Was I stressed the day before? Was I under a lot of pressure? Or maybe was I just, sometimes people just kind of like, as they start to recover, like get further in their recovery, where they're almost recovered, they start to kind of forget that they need to finish the recovery because they're at a very mild level. And it's, no, you need to continue and finish it. And I was not watching it, and I was letting the thoughts kind of go in and pay attention to them. And this is what happened, right? So seeing it as a pattern in a mindful way from a third person perspective, not from a person, from a perspective of the observer, right? Not from a perspective of, oh my God, I'm in it, feels so real, all this stuff, right? But stepping back and saying, well, why did it really happen? What caused it? And there's usually a very kind of understandable situation of what happened. Say, oh, well, something unexpected happened the day before, or I was overstressed, or I was overtired, and, I let the thoughts get to me, and then I started to ruminate and pay attention, and now, a few hours later, I feel really bad. And because you start to understand the process, you start to understand how to get out of it too. So what do you need to do to get out of this setback now? You just need to undo what you did, right? So, okay, from this moment on, I'm done. I'm not paying attention to it. Now I'm digging myself out. And whatever it is, if it has to do with my theme, I'm not paying attention to it in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter how severe it feels, how real it feels, how much anxiety it gives, how many images it gives me. All of this doesn't matter. If it's giving me even physical sensations, doesn't matter. Still disregarding it, right? And as you're doing that, you will start to climb out of that setback. And um, also watching the time of how long you're having this setback for. So, say you fell down, you had a setback for a day. Well, next time you have a setback, try to make sure it's less than the current one, so less than a day, because if you look at it objectively, you're still going to disregard the thought at some point. So what is really the difference between you spending hours worrying about it, getting really into the thought, and then choosing to disregard it, versus just choosing to disregard it without spending all of this time and um, you know mental energy paying attention to it? What is the difference between the two? You're just not allowing yourself to suffer. That's the only part you're taking out of it. You're taking out the part that the time of suffering, right? So there's no point in allowing yourself to worry about a situation for hours or days when you are going to let go of it at some point anyways, and it's not true anyways. So it's just kind of seeing that. But in order to see it, you kind of have to step back and look at it as an observer. Because if you're looking at it from a first person perspective, from an oh my god, I'm getting feelings perspective, it's very difficult to see the logic in all of this. And that's why it's important to do, like for me to do these kinds of videos for you. So you know you are seeing it from the perspective that you should be seeing it from, and not falling into the feelings part and falling into the part of um, how real it feels, because it feels real for everybody. That's the nature of OCD. It feels real, right? So it doesn't mean anything just because it does feel real. So I hope this kind of helps. If you have any questions, you can ask below every or any video, and I answer them on Wednesday's show. If you would like more information, you can visit youhaveocd.com. There's a private recovery program there with me. There's ebooks, there's articles, there's a lot of information to help you recover. Also, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.